Hello guys, welcome back. In this video, let us learn one more important option in IAM services. That is, before learning it, let's have a question. Is it possible to access AWS services without credentials? Is it possible to access AWS services without credentials? Is it possible to access AWS services without credentials? So even to access AWS, we need to log in, right? Yeah, for that we need credentials. So without having credentials, is it possible to access AWS? The answer is no, but in IAM, there is a service where it will provide you temporary access. So we can say by using that service, we can say, yes, it is possible. We can say it is possible. How, sir? Sir, you told us in order to access AWS service, first we need to be identified by sign in console, right? Yeah. Then we need to have policy to access any service. Then only we can able to access any service. But you are not telling without having any credentials, you can access AWS services. How, sir? How can we access AWS without having credentials? By using IAM roles. Let me write the name here. By using IAM roles. So if anybody asks you, can I able to access AWS services without having credentials? Then what is your answer? Yes, you can access by using IAM roles. So what does this provide, sir? IAM role provides you IAM role IAM roles provides you temporary access without credentials. Temporary access without credentials. So what, sir? What does this IAM role provides you? It provides you a temporary access without credentials. So you can able to access AWS services without having any IAM role, without having any credentials by using this IAM role. You can able to temporarily access AWS services by using this IAM role. So if anybody asks you in certification or interview about is it possible to access AWS services without having credentials, then what is your answer? Then you need to answer yes. Temporary access without credentials is possible by IAM role. So let's say I have Linux EC2 instance. Let's say I have this is my, let's say, Linux EC2 instance. Okay. After connecting to EC2 instance, I want to use data which is present in S3. This is Linux, right? Yes. This is Linux EC2 instance. Let's say this is Linux EC2 instance. After logging to this Linux, I want to use data which is present in S3. So to get this data into this Linux instance, what I need to do? What I need to do to get this data to my Linux EC2 instance? Now, how can I get? I want to use this data which is present in S3. Can I get this S3 data? Yes, you can able to get S3 data into your instance. If your instance is Windows, then how can you access AWS from this Windows EC2 instance? Let's say my instance is Windows, and this is my Linux EC2 instance. This is my Linux EC2 instance, right? Yeah. And this is my Windows EC2 instance. Okay, Windows EC2 instance. Now the question is, let's say I launched this EC2 instance, that is Windows EC2 instance. Now, how can I access AWS from Windows EC2 instance? I simply go for Google in this. I simply open, let me write the question as well here. How to access AWS from Windows EC2 instance, right? Yeah, this is the question. So how can I access? I simply log into this. I simply connect to this EC2 instance, and then I simply open Google and just type AWS Management Console. There I got a website. By using that website, what is that website? AWS Management Console. What is the website? AWS Management Console. So by using that website, I can able to access. I can able to access my. So I can able to access by using credentials and get the data from S3. So this is how I can able to access in what in line, that is a Windows instance. Then now the question is, how can I able to access? So let me write the same question down. How can I able to access this AWS from where? From Linux EC2 instance. If my EC2 instance is Linux, this is my EC2 instance. Then for this Linux EC2 instance, how can I able to access the AWS from this EC2 instance? How can I access? By using command line. By using command line, I can able to access this AWS. How can I access? What is the command line that AWS provides me? AWS CLI, command line interface. You need to install it first. At first, then by using AWS CLI, you can able to access AWS. By using what? You can able to access by using credentials. So here also you can access. So if you want to access by using Windows also, you need to provide credentials, right? Yeah. So you need to provide credentials. Okay. So what is the credentials that you provide in Windows to log into AWS Management Console? You can provide username and password, right? Yeah. Since it is MFA authorized, you can have security. Now, if you want to connect, if you want to access AWS from AWS CLI, do I need programmatic access? Yes, I need programmatic access. In order to access AWS every time, I need to store my keys there in EC2, right? Yes, I need to store my keys. What are the credentials that I use? I use my credentials as keys in this programmatic access, that is CLI access. I want to connect AWS through CLI, then I can able to access by using programmatically. So what are my credentials? Keys. So in order to access every time, do I need to save my keys? Yes. So if anybody access my Linux EC2 instance, if anyone access this Linux EC2 instance, so since my keys are stored in it, where the keys are stored in it only, this Linux EC2 instance only. So then anyone who accesses this Linux EC2 instance will get those keys. Yes, of course they will get those keys. So whose keys are those? Those keys are my IAM user keys. If anybody get those get my IAM user keys. What does it indicates? That means they got my programmatic access. So they can able to log into AWS console by using my keys. Yes, they can able to log in to AWS CLI by using my programmatic keys. So is it possible for them to misuse? Are they able to misuse my credentials by logging to AWS CLI? Yes, they can able to misuse my keys if I store my keys in here. So storing of my keys in EC2 is secure to me? No, it is not secure to me to store my keys in Linux EC2 instance. Then how can I able to provide AWS access to this Linux EC2 instance? How can I able to provide AWS access to my Linux EC2 instance without providing my credentials in it? We can able to provide access to AWS for this Linux EC2 instance by using IAM roles. We can able to provide access to AWS EC2 instance by using IAM roles. So first, how do we provide? Let us see. So what are the steps that we need to do to provide the access to this Linux EC2 instance, to provide access to AWS for this Linux EC2 instance? So first, what I need to do, just create IAM role. Create an IAM role and attach what policies you want to attach. Attach what policies you want to, what policies you want for, what policies you want based on your need. So based on your need, you just need to attach policies. So based on your need, what you need to do, you just need to attach policies. So attach policies, what you want to, what you want based on your need, you want to attach the policies. First create IAM role, then attach policies to that role. After that, attach this IAM role to where? To EC2 instance. So where is my EC2 instance? This is my EC2 instance, right? So after creating this IAM role, what you need to do, you just need to simply attach this IAM role to where? Attach this IAM role to this Linux EC2 instance or Windows EC2 instance. Then in this way, you can able to provide your access. What you're doing, you're just attaching that IAM role here to this Linux EC2 instance. So by attaching, can you provide the permissions? Yes. For this Linux EC2 instance to connect directly to AWS and access to AWS? Yes. So based on permissions attached to IAM role. So based on the permissions attached to, let's say I attached S3 permission to this IAM role. Let's say I provided S3 permission now to this IAM role. So now since I attached this IAM role to this EC2 instance, can this Linux EC2 instance can able to access this S3? Yes. So after some time I provided EBS access. After some time I attached a policy to this IAM role. What is the policy I attached? EBS policy attached to this IAM role. Then is this Linux EC2 instance will get the, can able to access the EBS? Yes. This Linux EC2 instance now able to access the EBS volumes as well. Since we attached the EBS policy, EBS service policy, then and this role is even attached to this instance, so we can able to use it. So based on the permissions attached to the IAM role, you can access AWS services, right? Yeah. So let me write that point. So based on policies attached to IAM role, based on policies attached to IAM role, so you can access AWS services, right? You can access AWS services. You can able to access AWS services, right? Yeah. So now you can tell me, to access AWS without using credentials, that is, without using credentials, by using temporary access, is there any service available in AWS? Yes, there is a service available in AWS to access. There is service available in AWS to access this AWS without having credentials by using temporary access. That service is what? IAM role. So in this IAM role are used to protect your credentials? Yes. And secure them? Yes. So from this, can we say like that? Yeah. We can say that IAM roles are used to protect my credentials and secure them, right? Yeah. Since we are not providing our credentials in the Linux EC2 instance to provide the access, right? Yeah. So let's see how many roles can I attach to single EC2 instance. For a single EC2 instance, I can attach only one IAM role. That's it. For a single EC2 instance, the limit to attach number of roles is 1. Only one role I can able to attach. More than that, I cannot able to attach. Right? Yeah. How many policies can I attach to role? So what is the limit to attach policies to this IAM role? So is there any limit? Yes, you can attach up to 10 policies to this IAM role. So in certification, if they ask you by default how many policies you can attach to the IAM role, you need to answer 10. So by default, for an EC2 instance, how many roles can I attach? Only single, one only. Can I attach one role to multiple EC2 instance? Yes. I can able to attach one role to multiple EC2 instances. So I can able to attach a single role to multiple EC2 instances, right? Yeah. So in this video, you have learned about a new service in IAM, that is IAM role. Why do we need to use it? To provide temporary access without credentials, we need to use this. So what is this IAM role, sir? To provide temporary access without credentials, we use this IAM role. Okay. Is it secure to provide my credentials in Linux EC2 instance? No, it is not secure. Then how can you provide the permission to access AWS by using this Linux EC2 instance, sir? By attaching IAM role and by providing what are the permissions that you required, those you are providing to IAM role. Now you can tell me how many IAM roles that I can able to attach to single EC2 instance? Only one. So based on policy, how many IAM roles I attach to EC2 instance? Only one. So what is the limit to attach total number of policies to IAM role? Only 10. So can I able to attach one role to multiple EC2 instance? Yeah, we can able to attach one role to multiple EC2 instances. So previously we have seen a problem that how can I access S3 data to this Linux EC2 instance? So to provide this S3 data to Linux EC2 instance, simply we just create a role and then attach that role to this Linux EC2 instance, and then in this we need to, for this IAM role, we need to provide S3 access. That's it. We can able to access this S3 data from this Linux EC2 instance. Since we attached this IAM role to this Linux instance, we can able to access the data. Sir, can you tell me where do I use this IAM role? Let's say let's say mm, let me write here, where do we use, where do we use where do we use this IAM role? So we use this IAM role during automation. During automation. So don't worry, I'll provide you examples as well in this video. So let's say I have a Python application. Let's say I have a Python application. So let's say I have a Python application which is running in my EC2 instance, where it is running, which is running in my EC2 instance. Okay, this is my EC2 instance, right? EC2 instance. So in this EC2 instance, my Python application is running. Okay, whenever a user is uploading a photo, whenever a user is uploading a photo in my website, then this Python code will create a bucket in S3 automatically. So how do it create a bucket in S3? In order to create a bucket in S3, do do this EC2 instance will need to access AWS, right? Yes. So it need to access AWS under that S3. So under that S3, it need to access that as well. So first, what this instance need to access? This instance need to access AWS at first. Then it also need to access S3. Then only it can able to create bucket in it, right? Then only it can able to create a bucket in it. After that, then only it can able to process, right? So now the question is how? So now to do this, whenever a user uploaded a photo in my website, then this Python code will create a bucket in S3 and upload the photo into the bucket automatically. Into this bucket, whatever the photo that user is uploading will automatically upload into this bucket. So how is it possible? How this Python code will make it happen? So to make it happen, at first this EC2 instance need to access this AWS, right? Yeah, it first need to access this AWS. Then it need to access the S3 service. Then it need to create bucket, and then it need to upload the photo in it. So to do this task automatically, now to do this, what EC2 require? EC2 require S3 access, right? Yes. So to provide S3 access temporarily without credentials, what we will use? We use IAM role to access this S3. To access this S3 for temporarily without credentials. To access this S3 temporarily without required credentials. So what does we require? What do we use? We use IAM role. Okay. Here in such type of scenario, we use this IAM role. So sir, can you provide me another example? Okay. Let's say I have a company and with a lot of web servers in AWS, I hosted my website. Now, after some experience, I noticed that no user is using my website from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. Since no user is using my website, that time to use my resource effectively and pay less, I would like to stop all my servers from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. So from from which time I like to stop? I'd like to stop all my servers at 10 p.m. and start again at 5 a.m. So every day manually stopping and starting manually is not a easy task. So I try to do this automatically. So I try to automate this task. So I created a code in Lambda function. Now in order to access EC2, do this Lambda function require credentials, right? Yes. So in order to access EC2, in order to access my servers, the Lambda function requires EC2 access, right? Yes. So to access EC2, this Lambda function requires EC2 permission. So how can I able to provide? Now the question is, how can I able to provide? Here also, in order to access EC2, do this Lambda function require credentials? Yes. Here also, I can able to provide EC2 temporary access without credentials by using which service? IAM role. So from these two examples, what do we say the conclusion? During automation, to provide temporary access without credentials, this IAM role is useful very much. So this is mostly about IAM role. So I can even provide you one more example of where we use this IAM role. We even use this IAM role in advanced service, that is IAM Identity Center. So you don't need to, for associate level, for solution architect associate level, that IAM Identity Center is not required. But to provide you an example for this IAM role, I'd like to tell you that in that IAM Identity Center service also, this IAM role is used to provide a single user multiple credentials, to a single user. So I hope you understood this video about IAM roles. What is this IAM role and where do we use this IAM role, and what are the limitations or limits for this IAM role? So I hope this video is contentful to you and you understood some new points or revised whatever you know. So thanks for watching. If you like the video, please like, share, subscribe and hit the bell icon to get the latest updates. Thanks for watching. See you back in the next video. Until then, bye bye.